The acorn, split in two and exposed to strong light and high magnifying power, will disclose the perfect outlines of the oak tree. The germ of all things contain the likeness of what hereafter they are destined to become. So also does the germ of the monad of a man. Soul has two methods of increase. First, it feeds on notions, thoughts, sensations, ideas, emotions, hopes, joys, fears, anticipations, based on which it is external to itself. The experiences and discipline thus derived constitute progression. On the other hand, it creates molds and fashions things from itself, and by the exercise grows intuitive and strong. This is development or unfolding. Souls are all of the same genesis, but, like trees of the forest, there are vast differences between them. Men often speak of full souls, big souls, weak souls, strong souls, lean and fat souls, and so on, thus leaping to a truth by a single bound of intuition, for no greater truth exists than those words convey. People grow weary by labor, that's physical exhaustion, and of pleasure, that's sensational weariness, and of thinking, hoping, cogitating on a single subject, that is soul tiredness, for all of which rest is demanded, or rather a change of attention and occupation. The body is a laboratory wherein the most beautiful and useful chemicals labor are carried on, and it exacts and distills the finest essences from all things it manipulates. True it is, what a coarse man extracts only physical energy from beef and wine, but it is also true that these things contain something far more rare and so subtle that it requires a stomach of finer texture and more elevated order to extract the higher essences that go to inspire genius, develop poets, and sustain philosophers in thinking. Some persons manufacture bleaching salts and oil of veritol. Others compound the delicate odors which float upon the air of palaces and radiate the garments of refined women. Yet both are chemists. And so of the human body. It feeds on the essences of food and converts these essences into the most spiritual forms possible, and this last is duly laid away in the numberless magazines or storehouses which we call the nervous ganglia. When these stores are distributed, the body grows strong. When the supply is exhausted, we become faint and weary, and finally fall asleep, whereupon the soul sun sets for a while, vide the case of the student, withdraws from the brain, passes down the vertebrae, enters the solar plexus, changes and refines the essences of the ganglia into pure fire, endows it with portions of its own divine life, sends a supply to every point where the communications are not cut off by the disease, and so increases the vigor, life, and bulk of the body. When this recuperative work is done, soul sometimes rests a while and remains shut out from the world for hours, during which time our existence is vegetative only, and we are in a deathly slumber so far as the outward consciousness is concerned. At such times the soul is making itself familiar with the elements of the lofty transcendent knowledge of all good human beings are destined to fully acquire after death. It is talking with God, and God is in turn conversing with it. It is pursuing its volume of reminiscences, and this sometimes vaguely, dimly flash forth on an outward memory, causing men to doubt the story that they have not pre-existed. Sometimes it is intently listening to the glorious melodies which a seraphim sing, or drinking in the knowledge of archangels. For it is indeed true that sometimes the aerial synod bends, and the mighty choir descends, and the brains of men thenceforth teem with unaccustomed thoughts. The soul returns from the inner to the outer life, and in spite of the philosophy or reasoning to the contrary, does entertain vague memories, indistinct yet half positive assurances of having been aforetime in some other place than earth, or hell, or heaven. Nor can it get rid of this conviction, because it is true. We have existed somewhere else. We have lived and acted parts before, long ages before this world was ushered into being and the fiery vortex of the Son of Suns. We have lived and moved and had a being in a strange and far-off world. a realm of mystery and wonder, memory-filled, sublime, not in this world or hell, heaven, space, or time. And so we sleep. At other times, without arousing the body, the soul cautiously rescinds its daily throne, takes advantage of the physical quiescence in slumber, and plays many a fantastic trick with the materials in its magazines, all for its own amusement and that of its phantasmal comrades and lookers-on, who do not fail to gather round the bedside and join the spectral sport. Sometimes the soul overhauls the sheets of memory, supportively, racily, jocundly, mixes them all together, puts incongruent events along the side of bitter remembrances, takes a character here and one there, and forces them to perform the most ridiculous and absurd dramas imaginable. Nor does imagination itself escape, for the soul touches it, and forthwith it produces, like a fecund mother, the night-born offspring are forced to mingle themselves in one indescribable medley, along with the things of pure memory and reminiscence, forming an olla podrida without order, system, head, foot, beginning or end. We are dreaming. An objection may be urged here to the effect that animals dream as well as human beings. Dogs bark in their sleep and manifest all phenomenon of dreaming. Has the dog, therefore, a soul that pernoctates, goes abroad, and so forth? To this I reply, it is by no means certain that the sleep barking of dogs and other beasts is anything more or less than merely physical, nervous agitation. I am not sure that they really do have dreams. Still, on this point I am open to conviction, and just as soon as any well-bred dog, not one of your mongrel hounds either, shall tell me what he dreamed, I will announce that highly interesting fact to the world. But until one shall do so, I shall insist upon the hypothesis above set forth, that these solemn exhibitions are in some way connected with what I call the process of the monad gestation, and not to the dreaming of beasts as such.